accumulated quite a pile of parts for a project that I'm about to undertake for one of the vehicles. It's a project we've been putting off for some time and have finally decided that now is the time to begin it. So there is no better way to begin this process, which is to restore this vise. So I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to soak it tonight in that Evapora stuff, which I've never used, but I've got some of it and I want to try it on this. We're going to take this down as much as I can. There's not a lot of parts to a vise, obviously, but we're going to soak it overnight, and then tomorrow we're going to start cleaning everything up, and I want to paint this, get all the roughness as much as I can cleaned up, see what I can do about straightening up the handle. I don't have a whole lot of hope for that. I'm going to paint it and reinstall it on the workbench so that it'll have a good vise that I can start working with on my next project. So the first thing is to start by getting in here. There's a flathead screw on this collar in here, located right there. So I need a small screwdriver. Let's see if this will get in there and loosen it. I might need a better one. Yep, need something better than that. Get another screwdriver. Nope. Let's try some heat. I've opened the vise up more. Keep putting heat on this, see if I can get it to relax some. I think I'm going to end up having to drill that set screw out and replace it. All right. A little WD-40 on that. See if that helps. Nope. All right. That's not working. Let's get some drill bits after this. All right, these are left-handed drill bits. So they twist backwards. We're going to see if we can use the left-handed drill bit as it applies pressure and tries to cut that screw out, if it will break that loose. I've had pretty good luck with this in the past, especially when I can chuck it up in the drill. So let's see if this works. think that broke it loose. Nope, not quite. Almost through. I think we're there. Let's go ahead and spin the two halves of the vise apart the rest of the way. I think it moved. Okay, now. There. Now there is a dimple there where that's supposed to set against this collar. Now I've got to re-drill and tap that, which at the end of the day, it's not that big a deal. I may not have the right size set screw, but we'll figure that out. So this is a part, this is a part, this is a part. I've got the jaw to take off. Same thing, there's a jaw here, and then there's a locking lug right here that is retained by a pin. So let's sit that up like this. And we'll take our drift here. Okay, I got a couple of these clear buckets. Not quite big enough, but maybe we can jigsaw it in there somehow. There we go. And this one will fit in there. Actually, let's do that. Yeah, I think that's better. All right, let's put some of this evaporust in. If you're into tool restoration videos, I kind of am. You see people using this an awful lot. And supposedly you can reuse it. Which is why I'm not too concerned about using a bunch of it, because I've got several gallons of it. No, I really want to get these in the same tank. This stuff's supposed to be non-toxic, so I guess we'll find out if I'm dead in the morning. Okay. Now it says to take a rag and cover the parts that stick out so they stay wet with this stuff. Kind of an oily rag, but whatever. It'll either work or it won't, right? What have I got to lose? Now, let's let this sit overnight and we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. So, I guess this is where we stop for now. All right, it is the next day. Very exciting, very exciting. And we're going to pull these parts out. I gotta say, the stuff does not smell awesome, but it looks like it did a really good job. Now it says that you can run that through a filter funnel and reuse it. And I'm just cheap enough that I probably will. I threw in this one a few other little things. That's got a broken spring. And I don't know if it did before or if it just broke while it was in there. This is an old Proto Tools adjustable wrench that I use an awful lot actually, but I don't think it ever had any sort of a coating on it. And this one is a Crescent brand. It looks like most of the chromes wore off on it, but it all came up rust free. You can see where I didn't clean it good. I didn't clean it at all. But you can see the grease is still in there, which is fine, whatever. But it got all the rust off of this. Oh, it seems to got it off all the parts. Look, that's bare metal. The part that was out of the water wrapped in this rag didn't do as good, but it was not in the mixture as good. See if you can see how it's kind of got like black schmutz on it, but as soon as you wipe it, all that comes right off. And I didn't clean these like at all. I just threw them in there. But it looks like it has stripped these things back, except there was a little bit of paint on these. Well, it looks like it took the paint off pretty good too, but that was just like some random paint that was probably some house paint from a project I was working on. It cleaned these up really good. All right, I'm going to take these over to the sink, and I'm going to scrub them up with a Scotch-Brite and a brush. Yeah, it's taking everything up real good. And then we'll go from there, see what it looks like. It's kind of a mess, but clean it up in the sink, and we'll take another look at it then. Okie doke. I have cleaned everything, still wet. Looks like there might be a little bit of rust right there, but it could also be red paint. I'm pretty sure that at one time this vise was red. It's an old Craftsman. I don't know anything about it. I found it in one of the barns on the property when I built my workshop years ago. So I know it came from somebody in my family, but I don't know who, I don't know when, and I don't know where. And you can see this thing is already starting to flash rust, the movable jaw. And the other thing I want to do is take off these replaceable jaws. Finish getting this all dried up, and I'm going to paint it. I'm probably not going to spray it because looking at all this stuff, it is pretty coarse, pretty rough. I might take a flapper wheel and try to dress this a little bit, and then dress these boogers off of here from where it looks like me or somebody struck an arc on it. But it all cleaned up really nice. Might be able to get this pin out of here now to get this slide out, but I don't know if I really need to, if I'm just going to paint it and reassemble it with some good grease. So let's see if we can get these off. These screw heads are really beat up. I'm really doubtful that I'm going to get those out. Got it. There. Now we can at least clean up there. Clean up there. Because I would like to paint it without the jaws on, because whatever paint gets on the jaws is just gonna get trashed. And I might see if I can find another set of these 4 screws. Not work on that side. Let's see if it'll work on this one. All right, I know that's a little loud with the air compressor running. We're going to try, see just this little edge of this jaw is overhanging that screw, what's left of it. So I'm going to try to get in there and grind away just that corner. Like that. There. Turn that compressor off. All right, now that we got that off, that needs a little bit more cleanup. This needs a little bit more cleanup. So those are clean. I'm going to leave them raw metal. These are clean. These are clean. I'm going to knock that down. I might do that with this little grinder here. Actually, no, I'm going to use a flap wheel. I'll clean it up, degrease it, and then I'm going to use old-fashioned Rust-Oleum paint. I'm probably just going to go ahead and brush it on instead of trying to spray it because it's going to get beat up again anyway. It is not cold out here today. I don't hate that. I mean, it's not perfect, but it kind of looks neat. So I guess I need to do that part. And I probably need to get in there with a wire brush to clean up the rest of that. Not terrible, but do say so myself, and I just did. It's not awful. This, being all around, is going to be a real boogaboo, and it's got 2 bends in it. So I think we're going to not polish that part. I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that yet, but I am going to change grinders. Well, I've sufficiently made a giant mess of the workbench. Got grinder dust and debris everywhere. But I think that looks a little bit better. These I'm going to clean up separately with a parts washer. Maybe. I think that looks pretty presentable. I think taking the flap attack to it, burnishing it up, made it look a little better. Let's see if it'll slide better. What do you think? Since I had to hammer it apart to begin with, does that look a little bit smoother? Now, anytime you're doing any sort of restoration work, it's very important that you get exactly the correct thing. Now, this is a Craftsman 5161 vise, so I have gone and looked up and had mixed up an exact reproduction paint. And I'm going to paint it with nothing but the finest paintbrush. Okay, it is day 2. Paint's dry. It looks okay-ish. Good enough for what we're doing. I'm going to run a tap through all of the holes for these jaws and a dye for each of the screws to clean these threads up. Just because I had so much trouble getting them apart, I want to go ahead and get these threads as clean as I can get them. And also, I'm going to, while the boogered up screws are in here, I'm going to take a cutoff wheel and make these into slotted screws instead of Phillips, so that next time I have to do this, or whoever has to do this, there will be a flat screwdriver will bite in a little bit better, at least until the screw heads give up completely. My tireless search of literally no websites yesterday didn't yield any luck. I looked around in my parts bin of spare screws. I didn't have anything, but I'm not going to look too hard trying to find replacement screws for this. I just want to get this fixed up and usable again. This is the worst tap handle in the world. All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's put some paint down on these things. The other thing I wanted to do before we got too carried away was look at how tight this fit is. Because I was thinking about painting this bare metal part, but it's so tight, I'm afraid that if I paint it, it's just going to jam up. So I'm going to have to leave that bare metal. All right. Might be wondering what I'm going to do about these jaws. I'm going to coat them. I'm going to coat them with some of this Perma Blue, which should turn them black. And this is not the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to use a applicator and not just rub it on with a towel. But it does blacken it up a little bit. Get it worked down in those serrated edges. And the more you do this, the darker they will turn. Is what I have been told. I'm not exactly into refinishing guns. I lost all of my guns in a tragic boating accident. Okay, it is another abysmally hot day here in South Carolina, but it is summer. My original set screw didn't work. I had to make one. We hope that's going to work. We'll find out in a minute. Also, the mounting hardware, I'm going to have to paint. The jaws came up blacker. They're not perfect, but then again, they're all beat up and old. This stuff's all old. Sharp viewers will have already noticed, this being a 5161 Craftsman vise, I'm missing the base, the rotating base that this locks to. I've never had it. If it's out in the barn someplace, I just haven't found it yet. And we'll just have to find it when we find it. If I do find it, I'll paint it and install it. If not, this was already installed on my workbench previously without it. And I don't remember which jaw went where. So I'm going to assume that it doesn't really matter. If we leave this stationary jaw as, well, somewhat raw steel here in South Carolina, it's just going to rust away. So fans of the movie A Christmas Story will know all you need is a can of Simon Eyes. A can of Simon Eyes. That and a Red Ryder BB gun. So we'll put some of this on here. It is very hot today, so this stuff is practically half melted. So all I'm trying to do is put this on here as a protective coating. It'll also act somewhat like a lubricant. But the biggest point here is just to keep these raw steel sides from getting too rusty. And I probably should let that set and all that kind of good stuff, but I think we all know I'm not going to. And I'll put some down in here just because. Alright, so we got that painted up with the lithium grease. So let's drop this in with the slip collar. And let's turn things so that they make a little bit of sense here. Alright, of course. There we go. Now, hole for the set screw needs to line up with that dimple. And we will hope that this is going to be enough to keep it locked. There. Now, this should slip into this, and the thread should engage as it goes in. There it goes. Now, the one last thing we're going to do, this is pretty much done since I don't have the rotating base. We've got wax on this bare metal part. We've treated these jaws with some of this perma blue. I've got some hardware over here to paint to install it. The last thing I want to do is purely for vanity. We're going to open up the gray paint again. Okie dokie. Let's see what we can do about tightening these fasteners up. Alright, that's one side. There. Alright, that has restored my vise, so I can get back to working on stuff around here that I like to work on. I am going to go ahead and paint these. I decided to paint them in place just so that they don't get all scratched up. So I'm going to get out the Q-tip again and just try to make that look a little bit more intentional. Now this is a working tool. I was basically doing this just for my own amusement and to test out that deruster. And of course, this being Cooper Heavy Industries, we got to have a barley soda to celebrate. I'm happy with that. That goes back and forth nice. I got the handle straighter than it was. It looks pretty good. Now, I can use it to fix my vise. Piece of cake. What could go wrong there?